Hello YouTube. In this second episode, I will cover why communism has failed so far and why it's still a viable theory. But first, a fellow comrade, Police Story, has recently pointed out some information to me. As such, I will touch little on corruption in the Soviet Union. Instead, I will focus on the economic setup. To obtain your own opinion on corruption, and Stalin in particular, use the two links listed here, as well as in the description. Regardless of your take, I'm certain you'll find them intriguing. Now, let's start on the Soviet Union. The Soviets had the entire economy state-owned. All of it is managed by Gosplan, the State Planning Commission. Now, right off the bat, there's an issue. The entire economy is ran by a system with one huge overwatching body. All inputs and outputs had to be managed, regulated, and responded to. This requires a ridiculous level of information processing. Also, the distance between this organization and the individual means of production is so great that real-time management is nearly or completely impossible. Also, the distance from the consumers is massive, rendering the input of needs nearly impossible to gauge. This historically has led to the overemphasis on heavy industry and a lack of consumer goods. Gosplan managed the resource allocation and production targets of the entire nation to meet the goals of the 5-year plan set by the Politburo. It also managed the interaction between industries on what was to be produced, sent where, and what was done with it. Eventually, when how the plan was carried out was set by Gosplan, it was sent to the planning ministries that drafted plans within their jurisdictions and sent further down the chain of communication, picking up greater details as it went along. Eventually, the info went to individual enterprises who produced what was ordered. Note the massive downward direction of communication. Now imagine sending info up the chain. Imagine thousands of factories, farms, and whatnot in a nation sending their feedback up to the Gosplan. Need I evaluate on the problems with this? This is a ridiculously inefficient system that killed the Soviet Union and all nations that use this system, or something close. Now, if you know your history, all other communist nations took a path similar to this, or at least had features with the same inefficiencies. It's like in high school when everyone copies each other's homework. They all make the same mistakes. So after all this, how could one still find communism a viable theory? Well, first off, almost everyone who says communism doesn't work has the Soviet Union in their minds. If you read the Communist Manifesto, you find out that this setup isn't anywhere in it, nor anywhere or any setup for that matter. A communist system is a system based on communist principles Karl Marx expressed in his theories. There are many ways you can make a communist system. This was just one, and as you have seen, it didn't work. To say communism doesn't work because of this is like saying something's impossible because you tried once and it failed. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he made the light bulb. Hate to have seen what would happen had he followed a similar way of thinking as those who criticize communism. Keep in mind, I'm not saying communism is infallible, only that the usual criticisms aren't well grounded. Well, that's what I have to say about that. In my next video, I'll explain my theory on how a communist nation should be ran and how it could be done with no government control of the means of production.